Hi, so I wanted to make a video about Eugenia Cooney. I'm subscribed to her channel, so whenever she makes a new video, I see it sometimes. This time I did. I actually haven't watched quite a few of her most recent videos, but the one I just got done watching was about her and her dog, and her mother was in it also. And while I usually don't sit through the whole video, I just look at it to see the comments and to look at her, just to observe her, really. I mean, it's kind of like a museum exhibit because she's so tiny. But then again, I mean, I'm a people person. I like to really observe everyone. So she just happens to have a lot of shock value to her appearance, so it makes it even more interesting to observe. But that's just being honest. That's why I watch her videos, because I don't really find the content to be anything I have interest in. I don't really share her same taste. Maybe the kawaii stuff, but aside from that, I don't really share much interest with her with music or fashion. But I really adore her as a person. I mean, how could you really not? What she portrays herself to be anyway. I really don't know her true personality. So anyway, I was reading the comments, and as usual, people were saying the same thing they always say. The top comments were saying that she must like the way she looks. She must think she looks good. And it's so apparent that most of the population who does not have an eating disorder, they don't understand that is not a common denominator of an eating disorder, is thinking you look great, or liking the way you look, or anything like that. Or that's not the driving force of an eating disorder. It's quite the contrary. Typically, what drives an eating disorder is not liking how you look. You want to find control in your life. I'm sure you've heard about that. But two things always are what fuel and keep feeding an eating disorder. Well, I shouldn't say feeding. It's kind of like a pun with anorexia, but you get what I'm saying. Is the first one is pattern. You know, we are creatures of habit. So, of course, you know, with binge eating or anorexia or bulimia, it's going to be a habit if you do it enough. That's a hard thing to get out of. I think they say like 21 days you have to go without that habit, and even then it's still hard, but you have to go a full 21 days of not uh, exercising that habit. And then the other common denominator would be dependence. Almost like with a drug addiction, your body becomes dependent on that cycle that it is used to. Our bodies are like machines. If you keep treating a vehicle or a robot or whatever the same way, and then suddenly you treat it differently, you make it do something it's never done before, or you put a different chemical agent in it, or make it perform a task it's never done, or it might, sorry, I'm having really bad acid indigestion right now. Um, it is not going to perform right, and it could even damage the machinery. Same with a human body. And what I mean by that is, for instance, I'm 29, but starting from 14 years old on up, I first had anorexia, and then I had bulimia, and now I'd say for the last year, I've had only binge eating, no purging. And the reason I haven't purged, the funny thing, I didn't even start all of this for weight loss. I started it because of my psoriasis. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see that. I have pretty bad psoriasis, and when I noticed that when I wouldn't eat, something about my body being cleansed or whatever, it would seriously make my psoriasis, it would just vanish. And I got bullied so much in school for my psoriasis, even by teachers, okay, that I wanted to just starve myself so I wouldn't have psoriasis. And it got to where I also got addicted to tanning beds because they also helped take care of my psoriasis. So the tanning and the starving myself, and my little sister and I were homeless for a while. So I was moving, a guy let me live with him, or actually his mother did. And then I started dating the son. I was 13, and he was older. He was like 19, and I didn't even know that was illegal back then. I was just so happy to have a place to live that was not a dysfunctional place. So I was really afraid to eat in that situation because I thought, oh my God, what if this guy sees my psoriasis? He might break up with me. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the bullying was pretty severe. So all that did was enforce my starvation anymore. Okay, so the reason I brought all that up now, fast forward now, uh, gosh, I would say it got the worst when I was about 15. I'm 29 years old now. So last year, I became hypoglycemic. Now my body doesn't, like, I don't even know the whole how it happens, but basically my body doesn't know how to hold on to glucose, and it's really frightening. Like, I was thinking I was having panic attacks, and this entire time I'm hypoglycemic now because of all this mess. Also, I will go weeks without having a bowel. My body the reason I stayed addicted to laxatives and the reason I stayed addicted to purging was because I ruined all the enzymes and stuff in my intestines and whatnot, and I completely effed up my entire digestive, all that gastrointestinal, whatever. I messed it all up. I don't want to say permanently, but I mean, it's pretty bad. So for years, it was like, which do I do? Do I take laxatives? Do I purge? Or do I not have a bowel for 2 weeks and feel on the verge of death? So your body becomes addicted. It's not as easy. I mean, if Eugenia just started eating like a normal person tomorrow, she would have it's just like a person withdrawing from a drug. Is it worth it to withdraw? Absolutely. Is it easy? No. Eugenia's not like me. She's not a mom. She doesn't have kids. She doesn't have some motivating factor like I do. I didn't realize how bad my health was getting until last year, and that's when I was like, okay, I want to see my kids grow up. So I need to I've been suffering, with the no bowels and the panic attacks and all this mess going on in my body. But it's worth it because I have 2 kids reliant on me. Eugenia doesn't, and from what I can tell by her mother strikes me. I don't like making judgments just from like random appearances or whatever because people like Ted Bundy, the serial killer, were very charming. So I think it's really shallow to judge people like that. But she strikes me as like she could have the potential to be really cold. That's the vibe I get. So I could be wrong. But anyway, so Eugenia, I feel like, what is going to motivate her to go through those withdrawals, to go through that pain that her body would go through once she started eating like a normal person? Because I've been there. I know what it feels like to go from anorexia to eating like a normal person. You look pregnant because your belly doesn't stretch out a little bit like a normal person's after eating. You literally look like there's a deformity. It's disproportionate. And it's painful. It pushes everything up to your chest. You feel like you're going to have a heart attack. It's like heartburn times a million. Then you have the no bowels. Your skin starts breaking out really bad because everything's stopped up. It is an ongoing. It takes patience. It takes strength. But it also takes encouragement, not hate. Telling the girl, oh, prove that you can eat all that, whatever. We all have problems. We all have things we've tried to fight or are currently fighting. And having people having people telling you to prove them. The thing is for Eugenia, eating is something that's probably very sacred for her. It's probably only when she allows herself to. And for me, when I would do it, and I still even sometimes do it now when my kids are asleep, because when I try to eat around them, it's almost impossible. Just because of all the interruptions, and I really love food, so I want to enjoy my eating experience. But when I was anorexic, it was different than that. Like I would sit there with a jar of peanut butter, which was like a trigger food, and I would literally hide and I would lick a knife. I would put it in there and lick a butter knife and enjoy it so much and savor it. So I wouldn't feel as guilty about it, so I would feel like I actually enjoyed the experience of eating. And for Eugenia, it's probably something like that. Like, it's not just something frivolous, like, oh, I'm just going to go here and go there. No, because she doesn't, because that's her disorder. We all have some sort of disordered something going on. Something, okay? Maybe your room is always wrecked. Maybe you're bad at relationships. Maybe you're two-faced. Maybe you're a gossip. Maybe you are addicted to cigarettes. Maybe you are addicted to food. Maybe you are addicted to porn. Maybe you're addicted to being a homewrecker in other people's relationships. Who knows? I'm thinking of people I know with their own problems who would judge Eugenia for her disorder. We all have problems. And what matters is if we don't know behind the scenes. We don't know if Eugenia is trying to work on it. We don't know that. But I can tell you, she doesn't like the hate. She doesn't like being told every single day that she's responsible for killing people. And that's another thing that's absolutely ridiculous. I've got 2 children. YouTube in and of itself is an entire realm of bad influences. The world, society, the second you walk out of your door, your child could be kidnapped. It's not a safe world we live in. So to blame Eugenia for other people's, that logic is so messed up. That's like saying that every single time you click on any video, you're basically, to me, that says that you think she looks appealing. That's projection to me. That shows me that you deep down wish you could restrict calories. If you think that she is a true trigger for girls to starve themselves, those girls already have some sort of proclivity to starving themselves. It's not Eugenia's responsibility to be their parent. She's not going to hide in a closet while she's suffering with her eating disorder. We all suffer in our own ways. We still get in our car and drive. We still interact with people. We still get on YouTube. That's just such a narcissistic way to to think is that to demand somebody to hide their existence until they're disorder free. Give me a break. If that were the case, there wouldn't even be treatment centers. There wouldn't be doctors. There would be, why help anybody for that matter? We wouldn't come out of the woodwork to ask for help for mental disorders. Her eating disorder at this point, as far as it is, like I was saying, is now a physical disorder also. That means she's got health problems going on. And I don't just mean, oh, she needs a cheeseburger and she'll be fine. That shows a lack of knowledge on nutrition and how the body works with the large intestine and the small intestine and our digestive system and enzymes. That shows that you don't understand how that works if you think that all she has to do is start eating and everything will just be rainbows, because it would be horrific for her in that first, I'm going to say, year. It would. I was going to say a few months. No, it would be about a year. So educate yourself on eating disorders if you truly care about the girl. It's not as simple, like I said, it's just eating. She's not doing it for fun. She's aware. She's aware of what it's doing to her heart. She's aware. We live in the era of information. We literally have information at our fingertips. She's aware of what she's doing to her health. Okay, and it's not, she doesn't, yeah, she body dysmorphia. That you get it. You get it when you have any eating disorder. It's just like how people who are obese, they don't see themselves as obese as much as we might see an obese person, because they see themselves every day. So they have a different kind of dysmorphia. While they're used to themselves, they still realize they're overweight, but while it's not shocking to them, it's shocking to someone else. It's the same exact concept with Eugenia. While we're shocked when we look at her, that's what she's most familiar with. Her reflection is what she sees all the time. It is extremely familiar to her. It's just like how if you grow up in the Middle East and you get beaten every day by your dad or who tells you that you need to believe this, or I don't know why I just said the Middle East, really anywhere. If you grow up with abuse, you're going to think it's normal until you step out of it and whoa, and with Eugenia, she thinks her body's normal because that's what she's used to. So expecting her, to what, she is pretty, first of all. So when she's, I've seen comments saying like, you can tell she thinks she looks pretty. Look at her. She keeps looking for the viewfinder in her camera. So what? We all do it. Every single one of us when we make a video. So the fact that she's underweight, she should just throw her appearance out the window. She shouldn't do her makeup. She shouldn't care about her angle in the camera. Y'all are just, some of you, it's like, y'all don't like how she's not publicly coming out with the fact that she has an eating disorder. Why should she? Why should she? I'm really bad about laundry. I'm going to put that out there. I used to not be. I used to be really, that's the thing, is I'm either anal about laundry or I'm really bad about it. Like, in terms of getting it going, in terms of just delaying and stalling laundry, I'm really bad about it, okay? That's not something I'd want to come out and just tell people. And that's not even as bad as admitting that you have a life-threatening eating disorder that you've lost all control over. So for y'all to expect her to just come out and be like, yeah, I don't eat. She knows, like, y'all wouldn't treat her any differently. Y'all say, I would actually respect you if you were honest. What? She doesn't owe you that, and no, you wouldn't. You would then if the next thing would be is, well, if you know you have one, then why are you still doing it? Because y'all are not, like I said, y'all don't understand it. Unfortunately, for some people who lack empathy, they have to experience something firsthand to understand the seriousness of it. But like I said, at this point, Eugenia's disorder is not just up here, it's also in her entire body. So just eating a cheeseburger is not going to save her. And if she could, she could die. And when I see her little fingers and I think of the kindness that she tries to spread and exemplify, I wish karma existed. Not like, oh, people need to die who've been mean to her, but I really wish that people would have a wake-up call as to how bullying is never a solution. If you want something harmonious and beautiful, you need to be gentle and understanding and kind. Now, I don't mean like in like war, okay? If people are throwing bombs at you, I'm not saying to surrender and give them soup and cookies. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you have a chance, an opportunity to show someone who you see is suffering and dying and doesn't understand, doesn't have the power to help themselves at that moment for whatever reason, if you choose to be hateful toward that person, that is not a solution. That's not gentle. That's like expecting harmonious, beautiful music when you take the chimes on a wind chime and banging them together. That's not going to work. It's going to be noise. It's going to be ugly. You have to let them gently flow. You have to trust them, and you have to be the wind that is going to make music. You have to be soothing. My screen just went out, so I don't even see if I'm still recording. There I am. Okay. So yeah, I hope that this made sense. And do some Googling on your own. Just all you have to do is Google what does long-term anorexia do to the body, effects of the body. You can actually die from binging after you've been anorexic for so long. You can die from that, like I said, because you're doing something sudden and drastic to your system that your system is not used to. So she would actually need to be closely monitored if she started eating like a normal person again. So keep that in mind too when you tell her to just eat. And there's nothing wrong with telling somebody who's suffering that they're beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. If I saw an alcoholic who was going to the liquor store every day and killing herself, and I would still tell her, unless she was neglecting her children or something, and I would still want to tell her, you're beautiful. You know, when I was young and I went through a phase where I wanted to dress like Britney Spears, I was about 12 years old. I did this because I was getting wooed by males, and I had no one watching me. I had no guardian. I had no love. So like for me, that was a big deal. It was like, wow, like I didn't realize it was just sexual vibes I was giving off, even though like I'd never kissed a guy or anything. It didn't matter. Like I just liked that I was getting positive feedback from people. And it, you know, I was called slut and whore and all this when I was the only girl in the movie theater who wasn't making out with the dudes, who wasn't going down on the guys and stuff like in the 7th grade. But it wasn't until my friend Emily smiled, and I remember she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, "You know, Rachel, you're so beautiful. You don't have to show the sexy part. You know, you don't have to be sexual. You know, to be." And she I forgot exactly how she worded it, but it was along those lines. It was loving. It was enlightening. The only reason my ears listened was because she was nice and she didn't give me a complex. You know, if you tell somebody there's something enough, they're gonna believe it. Like maybe I really am a slut, even though I'd never kissed a guy. You know, I was 12 when I was first called that, so it was like, what does that really even entail? And for Eugenia, if you're telling her she's all these horrible things, um, you know, you obviously don't have very good critical thinking skills if you think that's going to help somebody. You know, there's tough love, and then there's just flat out hate. There's a line, there's a difference. There's nothing loving about degrading somebody. That's not tough love. Once you get to degrading territory, you have steered out of love just into pure hate. So I'm done with the video now, but I hope that whoever maybe found this video by typing in Eugenia's name, if you were typing in her name because you were wanting to attack her on a video or something, hopefully you watched this and listened with an open mind. Thanks.